All right, students, phase 2. So you've taken your comb and you have learned, if you practice this, and you're going to take it and a little bit at a time, all right? You're not going to go this tight. This one was pretty short, so you're going to take it a little bit at a time as far as carving into it. So we know we come up here, and you can come up here and then move it over in this direction. Slowly. You don't have to take 3 or 4 inches. Do about 1 inch at a time when you do this part of it. The reason for that is because now then you develop an eye from the parietal line down to following the nape line. And what ends up happening is you can choose, do I want to do it with the comb or do I want to do it with the clipper? The biggest thing is that you're going to carve. Now I want you to take note of what I'm doing. Bottom line, even though I went backwards, all right, it's still the same. Do you notice that movement? Went this way, holding the comb out at this angle, still parietal line to tip of the ear, parietal line to tip of the ear, parietal line to tip of the ear. And what that's doing is it's folding the comb closer to the scalp as you get closer to the perimeter line. Then we took it back to the nape. The main thing that I want you to get from this is know and see that line. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to use our guards. Now, you have the wall guard. Now, the one thing that I want you to know about the guard is right here where the comb of the guard ends, where you see that notch, that's how much length is going to be taken off or left. That's as low as it will go because your blade is right here. So when you put your guard onto your clipper, your blade rests right at the end of that. It notches into it and you'll see it. Now I'm going to be using, on my Oster clipper, I'm going to be using my Oster guards, which are just a little bit different. But what I'm going to do at first, and you've got a 1, you've got a 2, a 3, and a 4 guard with your wall clipper. What I'm going to do, this is a 0. So look at how tight that would be onto it. Do you see what I'm saying? That is as short as it's going to be cut right here. I want to go just a little bit longer than that. So that was a 0. I'm going to use a 1. So what this is going to reflect is it will become a 2. And with the Osters, it's got a little hook in the back. You hook it up to it, and then you push it forward, and it locks in to that hook. Hang on, let me make sure I can get it right. I'm trying to do it sideways, and there you go. Nope. Okay, there it is. Okay. So it's on there, and you can see that the blade, I pushed it up, because when you push it up, it takes that shorter. When you push it down, it takes it longer. All right, so what I'm going to do, I know where that is at now. I know where that line is at. I've been practicing and I've been going. Now, keep in mind the carving motion. Carving motion. That's the way the comb was when I did it. The motion of my hand is the way the comb was. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go backwards with it, but this is where you see the carving with the clipper. All right? So this is phase 2. I think I'm going to use a longer one first. I was going to use a 1 to make it a 2. But I think I'm going to use, okay, I don't want to use a 3. Let me find my number 2 here. That's my 1. That's my 0. I usually have these in such perfect order, and not today, right? Okay, this is my number 2. All right, so I'm going to hook it onto the back, and I'm going to push it up so that it fits onto the blade. Okay, this one isn't hooking up as good as I wanted to. Hold on a minute, students. Just having a bit of a delay here. All right, I'll go ahead and do the 3. I'm not going to worry about it. Push it up and you hear it click. All right, so now It's not a different motion. Remember, I went down with this motion. Now I'm going to go up with this motion. My clipper is going to be an angle because I still want to follow that line. At this point, I have a guide, the previously cut hair. But when you're doing this and you don't have a guide, you still need to look at your line. And the line that I'm creating is from the tip of the ear, from the parietal line to the tip of the ear, and then traveling down around the nape line. This time I'm going to start from the bottom and I'm going to carve out. So my blade will come out. All right, go in and carve out. That's why I showed you the blade. Now, remember, this is the flat part of the blade. If I go in this form, look at how far away that's going to be. If I go in this form, look at how much closer it's going to be. Know how to use your tools, all right? So I'm going to take this. You always brace. You never do this, all right? That's not professional, for one. And you don't get so cocky that you do this either, because if there's a fly, if they sneeze and you're being Mr. Cool or Miss Cool, their head's going to move and you've just jacked up a haircut. Brace. You always brace, no matter what. And that's what this is. I'm holding the head still. I have my clipper at an angle, and I'm going to come up on that line. And you see that there's very little that I'm taking off. Now, another way to brace as well is with the comb. I can take this comb and I've got my line. Pull that hair down, create that line, and just follow that line. I'll be taking off more from the back and still doing the same thing. Let me move this over, turn it around so you can see it, and you can see that that is coming in on that exact same line. Pull my comb down. I'm following the nape line, getting in there. Now, what you would do with the client when you're working around the back is the same thing. Shift their head so you can see what you're doing and you can carve into it better. So there you go, following that nape line, carving in, and I still end up with that same line coming down. It doesn't change. Now that I know where it's at, that's why you learn that procedure. That's why you learn to hold it in that form so that you can do that. And again, you can see it's layered in there, shorter, closer to the perimeter line, longer as it travels up. All right, I'm going to take a shorter guard. This time I will do it with my number 1. I don't want to do it with the 1/4. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay. Yep, okay. This time, do it with this one, and you're going to see it go a lot shorter. All right, so I'm going to do it with the number 1. And just following again that same line, bracing. If that hair isn't cutting, then I just kind of use the comb to hold it down. Now when I go around the ear, again I brace and hold it with my guard on. Now I'm going to come back over this way. Now when I do the other side, what you're going to see is you'll definitely see it come off shorter. I used a longer one to give you that view, and that's what I want you to do. Learn the procedure first, do it with a number 4 first, and then go in shorter as you come up, so you can see the procedure that you're doing it correctly. All right, I'm going to turn this around and do the other side. Remember, this time we went in this direction. when you do the other side, there you go. When you do the other side, we already have a line. There's our line. Going shorter this time. Remember this hair, this is the worst hair to try and do this on because it's been chemically treated, it was curly hair and they've made it straight. So basically your learning procedure, and if you can do it on this type of head, you can do it on just about anything. And you notice I always turn mine off. As I turn the mannequin around, when I'm not using my clipper, I turn it off. Turn it back on. Again, there's my nape line. And if I have to take it at a different angle, I'm taking it at a different angle to get that hair off. So there you see that it's much shorter now. You can see that. And come into it. And get that one down there. So you see that longer hair still travels exactly the same way as it did before, and again we have that longer point at the center. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to shift your head forward because that inverts in. So I want to shift your head forward. I didn't put my clipper down so it didn't go off. Alright, so I'm going to pick this up and still stay within the nape line. To get that even and to fit with that guard. So this is phase 2. And this is not the easiest hair to do it with. Alright. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this off. I'm just going to use my blade. That's all. So I'm going to turn her around again, bring it back to the front. So phase 2, you see that we're going shorter and shorter and shorter to create that man's haircut. Phase 2, clipper cutting. And then we are also going to diagram it a bit. Now, again, I'm going to brace. I'm going to bring it up. I'm not taking it all the way to the scalp. I'm just carving into it. Exactly opposite of what we did before. Before we went down. Now we're going up in that same form. And again, bracing. Take it around the ear. Come over here. Make sure we get that. And sometimes, and you'll see that the angle, look at the angle. Closer at the scalp, further away as we travel, higher up into the nape line. And then you may need to just kind of clean that up a bit, take those off, clean up that corner, and as you come up, and I'm staying away from it, carving out into it. And you can see how much shorter that is. And this is driving me nuts. So see how I force it with the comb? Okay, and I'm going to take the comb and I'm going to force it. Holding it still yet at the exact same angle, going to the exact, now see the comb, carved in, comb, same thing's coming out, longer, shorter. And going up to the parietal line. And you see that coming in. You see that begin to happen there. Traveling around the nape line, and this time I'm just going to go ahead and take that center out because I know exactly how high and where it's supposed to go right there. So I'm going to come around to the other side. She's still shifted so that I can see what I'm doing. You see that's a little rough right now, so we're going to clean it up. Again, I'm going to take my comb, and the comb is going to kind of help me along here. Hang on, let me pin this hair up or else it's going to get cut, and I don't want this cut yet. So get that totally out of the way. Okay. Okay, you set your clipper down, you turn it off. Unless you've got full control of it. Okay, now see, tip of the ear, parietal line. Look at the same angle. That's what you're learning with that procedure. And right now all I'm doing is using the very edge of my blade to take those little long pieces off. I'm going to come here, carve that out. My comb is being held at a slight angle. Okay, it's not being held flat to the head. In other words, I'm not holding it flat to the head like that. It's at a slight angle away from it, so that in the interior into this area, it goes from shorter to longer. If I was holding it flat, it would all be the same length. I don't want that. I want that to be a little bit longer. So I've got just a scotch right there to take care of. And doing it in this form also helps you brace. It's the same thing. You've got the comb on it and you're bracing. There you go. Clean that up. Again, you see the comb is at an angle. And I'm getting rid of, now I'm really carving into this. I want to get rid of that corner there, round it out a bit. So I'm really carving into this hair. I got a little bit of a corner right there. I just saw it right here. I don't know if you can see it with the camera or not, but there we go. We got it off. And you'll see some of those sometimes. Look at each hair strand if you can. It's going to fall into its own natural place. So you see that coming up right there? All right, so now and this is phase 2. Again, look at the angle of the blade. See, I'm not holding it in this form. I know exactly the line that I'm following, and you keep following it. Bring that straight across, clean that up. Clean that up. Is that straight? Again, you're beginning to see there is the nape line. Let me make sure I've got it. See if I need to clean anything up. I can't see it when I'm cockeyed, so yeah, I've got a corner right here, and you could see that. See, I can't see it because I'm at an angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here. I'm going to stand in front of it so I can clean it up. And all I'm doing, again, is following. That's why you need to know where that nape line is at. I'm following the nape line. It's not different. It's the same. So I'm going to take it up just a scotch. And in just a minute, you're going to see, now look at the angle of the comb. See, I want it shorter, closer to the perimeter line, longer as we go up. That does not change. And we can really see the nape line now. The variable here would be the direction of hair growth in the area behind the ear where the cowlicks are. So what we're going to do now, in the phase 2 area, now that we've cleaned that up, brought it all together, followed the nape line on both sides, now I'm going to bring this hair down. Just along the perimeter line. Parietal line. We want to make sure that that hair beyond above the parietal line stays up. We're not cutting that right now. Okay, so I want to make sure all of that stays up, all around the parietal line. So here's your option now. You can choose now to come in and cut this with the clipper, or you can choose to wet it and cut it with a shear. What I'm going to do, one side I'm going to cut with the clipper. The other side I'm going to cut with the shear. And this is, even before we do a fade, this is just a tapered haircut. It's a gentleman's haircut. A lot of grandfathers like this haircut. And still we're going to be using our guide at that nape line and at the flat part of the head as our guide. So I'm going to take, again, my clipper comb because it's easier. I'm going to carve into it and take it to the shortest point. I'm going to hold my clipper comb perfectly straight out. Now this is what I want you to notice on the head form. The head starts curving in. So when I hold this comb perfectly straight out, this is going to stay shorter and this is going to be slightly longer. So take a look at it and you'll see what I'm talking about. There's my guide. I'm not going down into that hair. See, there's that shorter hair. I'm pulling it out to that point, right at the eyebrow. All right? Carve into it, pull it out. I'm going to take it straight up. Just pull it out gently, take it straight up. Carve into it. Again, there's my guide. Take it straight up. And you can see that that's coming in as a haircut. And it's tapered. That's what a taper means. It's tapered, kind of layered in there to fit the head form. So I'm going to come back around this way. I'm going to carve into it. There's my guide. And I'm not going any shorter. And my other clipper would just cut right into that. There would be no lull. Now back here the hair's a little bit longer, so I've got to make sure I find my guide and gently take it up. Go down to the middle of the head, and on the other side what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it with a shear. Again, find my guide. Okay, and all I'm doing is the comb is being held straight up and down. Now, this is where the head is most rounded. You're going to have a corner right at the area between the occipital and the nape. So you're going to just carve right into that. And do you see that corner? It's right there. Just a small, tiny corner. But what that does is it makes it look kind of like there's a little bit of a rounded spot there. Okay, so now I want you to see the difference between cutting it with a clipper, come on, and cutting it with a shear. All right, so we've got this cut now, and you can see that it's starting to look like a guy's haircut, or very short. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my shear, and I'm going to do some scissor over comb. This is another method that you learn. I'm going to use my clipper comb to do it with. I could use my other comb, but this is when, yes, I'll wet the hair. You move this out of the way, and I'm going to take it, comb it straight down, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to carve out. Now you notice that before I was carving out in this form. Okay, that's the difference. I'm on this side, and then I'm going to cut the hair straight up and down and comb it. Get there, carve it, find that short spot. Don't cut if you can't see your guide. My guide is right there, right here. So see, it ends. This is going to be a little longer because the head, the shape of the head curves in. So as I hold this straight out, it's going to be, let me carve it out this way so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. There's a little piece there. All right, comb it down. Turn the head so you can see it. And let me move it over. Straighten her up. Okay. Again, let me kind of do this so that you can really, I hope that, can you see this all right, cameraman?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to come up and cut in this form for you to see it. And you see that that's coming in the same. There's my guide. See, I'm not cutting shorter than my guide. I'm going to carve in, take it out, and I see that short hair right there. That's as short as I'm going. Now here's another way you can do it. I'm going to do this very last piece. You can carve it out, bring it out, and you can see, let me do it this way. You can see that shorter hair in there. There's one a little bit longer, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it palm to palm, and I'm trying to palm my comb, but this is a big comb. All right? And you can also do it in this form. Remember, you never cut beyond the second knuckle. And you'll all do surgery on yourselves. So now I'm even on both sides. It's the same. This does take practice. You could either, and I could have used my other comb instead of the clipper comb to do this, but, and I think I just covered it up so you really can't see it. I'm going to do it lefty for Michelle. Get my other comb. It's much easier. So I'm going to do it lefty for Michelle. Let me try doing it lefty for Michelle. Okay, so there you go. But I would do it this way, palm to palm. I have one of my students is a lefty. All right, so I can see this one long spot right here. Right there. See it? So I'm going to take it. I'm going to bring her down. Where's my thing? Let's loosen this.
3 minutes.
I got 3 minutes? Okay. Oh, come on. Okay, I want to lean her forward because I can see some fullness there. I'm going to take my comb again. Clean that up. And you see that, and I've got another little corner right in this area. And you'll see them. As you do it and the hair falls, you'll see them. And that's all I'm picking up is that corner. I'm not cutting anything else. It's just that corner. If I cut more, I've got more of a problem. So you can see that that's coming in. Now this is phase 2. Phase 2, you've already learned how to carve in with your clipper. And using your clipper comb to keep it longer. You've learned that hold it in this form, and then tight. What you do with the clipper, you come in tight and go long. That's all that carving is about. But you've got to know where that parietal line is. You've got to know how to travel around to the occipital. Then that hair right here at the occipital becomes your guide for that hair above that, above the occipital or above the nape line into the occipital. Now this is what I want you to see. I'm going to do it with my fingers and bring it out for you. Do you see where even though it's shorter here, it's slightly longer if I were to measure it? So I'm measuring it, and you can see that that's shorter. So the head curves in, and that's the why on this being just a little bit longer at the parietal line. This is the lower ridge, and the lower ridge is where you finally get your fade. So when you do this, I want you, every section that you do, like even when you're working with the clipper comb, I want you to use your larger guard first. Practice that carving in. Follow that line. And then clean up that corner. Use it, the number 3. Carve it in. Clean up the corner. The number 2. Carve it in. Clean up the corner. The number 1. Carve it in. Clean up the corner. Now you're going to also work around the perimeter line and clean that up like I had to. You're going to have those little hairs. That's what you would do on a regular haircut. The next step in phase 2 is this then becomes your guide, and you're going to hold it straight out. Okay, you can either do it with your fingers, or you can take it out with your clipper comb and go up with the clipper, just like I did. Now you notice with the fingers, look at the movement. Okay? Look at the clipper. You get a harder line with the clipper, less movement. All right? All right.